Hey everybody, welcome back to Dear Amber. This week we hit the streets with an adventurous eater. And we also have a question about choosing a Chinese name. And plus some things to look out for safety-wise on the mean streets of Shanghai. Okay, this question comes from Heather. She writes, Dear Amber, I'm coming to China at the end of the month. Can you please recommend some good Western-friendly foods in China? Well, I've invited a fellow friend, a fellow culinary lover, JP.
Hola a todos.
JP's from Spanish Pod.
I'm from Spanish
Pod. He's crossed over to the China side, especially in the food department since he lives in Shanghai.
Well, Amber, you're so persuasive. I couldn't resist.
And we love to eat.
Yes, we do. That is true.
Yeah. So, JP, you haven't been in China that long. So you're kind of a good person with some perspective, not like me who took my friends. I've been in China too long. I took them to eat and I ordered all kinds of things that they were like freaked out about. But I thought they were normal. I got used to it by now.
I can't even imagine what you would not be freaked out about.
Well, there was like seaweed and stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
I like that. But anyways, you're pretty adventurous, I've noticed, JP, like for being a newcomer here. So I was thinking you can help everyone. Let's do a little preview like of street food because that's something that maybe a foreigner would be a little bit afraid to try like on our own. Maybe you were a little bit timid. Mm-hmm. Let's do a disclaimer, Dear Amber, disclaimer. We take no responsibility if you get sick.
Right.
But usually I haven't gotten sick from street food. No,
neither have I, because you know what? Chinese people eat street food and they don't get sick. If they got sick, they would stop going.
But I do have to say I have heard a couple bad stories about those meat skewers, which we will discuss later. But so you're forewarned, anyways.
Okay.
But maybe it's worth the risk.
All right.
Okay. So JP, when you just got here, let's just say, what was some things that you've discovered that you'd like to recommend that you think foreigners would like?
Oh my goodness. Well, the first thing that I really like, and this is street food, this is street breakfast, is...
so let's start with breakfast. Okay. There's a lot of good breakfasts.
Yes, there are.
The morning, the streets are alive with the sound of frying, I would say. Every morning I walk by, and the smells. Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm about to burst into song.
So, please, take it away.
Well, every day I stop at the corner before coming to the office, and I get some, what is this called? Jianbing.
Yeah, so jianbing is actually my favorite food in China. I like to think of it as a Chinese burrito.
You know what? I think of it as a crepe.
So, what is it exactly? It's like a thin pancake.
Right. It's like a thin pancake. So it's basically a crepe, but it's drier, right?
Yeah,
and
it's not oily.
And
That's
it's
nice.
not fried, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of baked on this hot drum, on this hot surface. And then there's eggs, and I always ask for 2 eggs.
Yeah.
And then there's all kinds of little chopped chives, and then these
cilantro.
Pickled, what's the pickled?
There's swan cai. It's like pickled vegetables.
Pickled vegetables.
Quite a mixture, but it all comes out tasting really good. They fold it all up, right?
Yeah, and the lady already knows. She doesn't have to ask me. She knows that I want extra hot sauce, and you know.
They let you you're allowed to be sort of choosy about what you choose and everything.
And there's that cracker. They put it when they fold it up.
Yes, and that is the pinnacle in this is the icing on the cake of the Chinese burrito.
Yes.
Because it's all about those, they remind me of potato chips. It's kind of like when I was a kid and I'd have hot dogs and you put potato chips in the hot dog and crunch down on it. It's like the chewy with the crunchy.
Yes.
Man, they've got it down with that one.
It's delicious.
Okay, so what else? There's another thing beside it I see often on the street. It's kind of like a thicker bread.
So it's about the size of your hand. That's this little fried dough, and I don't think it might be rice dough. I'm not sure, but they break an egg on it and then they let it fry on one side, and then they turn it over, and they let it fry again, and then they serve it with some hot sauce.
Yeah, but this one's quite oily, I have to warn. I saw the oil bubbling around. But I think it's called dambing. But there's quite a few forms of dambing. But if you're standing there and you say dambing, they'll know what you mean.
Right. Now, in the same oil, they also make a big round bread that is as big as the pan that kind of reminds me of focaccia.
Yeah, I think it's a dambing too.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know. But just point, people. That would be the easiest way.
Right. Now, on the other side of that cart, there's the crepe lady, there's the fried people lady. On the other side, there's another wok, the guy that's frying with a wok, and he's got these, he's got rice that's steamed white rice that's packed into a block, and then he deep fries that, and when it comes out, it's this perfect little brick of fried rice, and it's golden. It's kind of like McDonald's hash browns.
Oh, it's like every culture has their own version of hash browns.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, anything deep fried does tend to taste quite good.
It's delicious, but very bad for diabetes.
Yes, bad for your health, but we're not advocating that. Anyways, but you know what? One thing that's funny is that Chinese like more savory things for breakfast, I think, too.
A lot of students of Chinese Pod tell us while they love to speak and listen to Mandarin, they are a bit intimidated to learn how to read and write in it because of the complexity of Chinese characters. That's why we created the 66 Characters series. Try it and see for yourself.
Like I mean, maybe before moving here 5 years ago, the thought of having like noodles for breakfast or rice would just seem so gross to me. But now I like it.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of nice and nutritious in the morning.
Yes.
But you know what? I think the thing is, this is what I've analyzed it as, is that Chinese breakfasts don't go well with coffee. That's why. Greasy noodles of coffee, you got like greasy like marks, and then you end up with a grease pool on top of your coffee. That's the difference.
Right.
I think their breakfasts go better with tea, and that's the thing.
You know what? Yeah, actually, there is a person right around the corner in the secret alley that makes muffins.
Yeah, see, you found the muffin man. I was quite touched the other day when he told me, Amber, the muffin man. Oh, brought me back to childhood. But
and those are delicious with coffee or tea.
Yeah, but JP, I don't know. Like I have one. They're not really muffins to me.
Well, no, because I gave you the mini muffins.
Oh,
but they also had the sponge cake that comes in the muffin.
Yeah, that's good.
Paper.
Do they actually have an oven though? Like I was wondering, they almost seem like they're fried because I never see Chinese people with ovens.
Well, in the back, if you see there's like a pizza oven that's been been repurposed,
reworked.
Yeah, no, but those little muffincitos that I bought, those little muffincitos that I bought for you, I think those were fried.
Okay, so there's muffin choice if you do want that, and that goes pretty well with coffee if you want the Western drink. And there's always if you're in a rush, you can always get your breakfast at the convenience store. There's a big vat of brown simmering eggs. Now they kind of smell gross to a lot of people when they walk into convenience stores here when they first move here. They're like, "What is that smell?"
Right.
It's sort of like a anise sort of 5-spice powder that's often used in Chinese cooking, and these brown like eggs that look like they've been sitting there for like 2 months or simmering away. But actually, everyone, they're worth a try. They're really good, and cheap.
Yeah. Are they? Is it tea? There's some kind of mixture.
There's two kinds. If they have the peel on them, I've been told they're called cha ye dan. It means they're made with tea.
Okay.
The ones without the peel are just made with soy sauce, I think, and some other spices, and they're called jiang dan.
Okay. You like jiang jiang, right? Jiang dan.
Yeah, I like the jiang dan.
Okay.
I like you don't have to peel them. Less mafan. Okay, now another thing that you'll see everywhere in Shanghai is baozi, of course.
Right.
Steamed buns filled with glorious little different fillings.
All right, but they're fried on the bottom, right?
There's both kind. There's one that's fried on the bottom. There's also the one that's steamed, and they're pretty cheap. Usually less than a kwai, so like maybe 10 cents for breakfast.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so moving on from breakfast.
Okay.
Getting hungry for snacks yet? There's a lot of good snacks here. There's another one called Lao Po Bing, right?
Po Bing,
it means like old wife cake or something.
Wife cake.
I think it's pretty like homemade sort of country style food. Like it's like a round pastry filled with little sweet fillings. Usually.
Yeah. And then you can get that just around the corner from our office.
Yeah, there's lots of those.
Yeah.
They're
My
really
favorite
cheap.
stuffing is the jiao yan.
Oh,
it's the
what's that?
Pepper and salt.
Oh,
salt and
like hu jiao fan, I think, and then salt is yen. Oh,
yeah.
So it's salt and pepper flavor.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't taste like it doesn't taste like a steak. It still tastes like dessert, but it's got the
sweet and salty.
Yeah, it's got some kind of paste inside that reminds me of nuts, but it's not nuts.
Cool. Okay, and there's also, of course, the aforementioned slightly dangerous, at your own risk, skewers.
Now, if you can tell them to cook it some more.
Yeah, maybe it's the cooking or maybe it's the sitting. I don't know. But I do know a lot of people that have gotten sick on them, but they are delicious. So they're called in Chinese, usually they're made from mutton, which is in Chinese yang rou. So they're called in Chinese yang rou chuar. Chuar is the skewer.
Right. Now, down the street and around the corner from my house, you can get skewers for 1 kwai each, and they're vegetable or chicken or beef.
Okay. And another meat-filled thing, actually another meat item, is the meat-filled buns that they stuff cilantro in. They're like these they look like Egg McMuffins with meat.
They're like tacos.
But yeah, they're so good. And they're called rou jia mo. They're not that common in Shanghai, but they're more of a northern thing, but everyone loves them. Every foreigner loves them. So if
It's
you see
that
those,
bread. It's that baked bread.
It's like having a little bun. Okay. And the other thing I really like, because, well, I finally felt validated in my life when I came to China and saw people eating yams as a snack, because people used to laugh at me in Canada that I would eat yams for a snack. I'm a bit of a health nut.
I got stuck behind the yam cart. You know how sometimes you're walking down the street in China and you get stuck behind people because they don't move? They just stop in front of you.
Oh, yes.
I got stuck behind the yam cart.
Oh,
and
no.
It's that gasoline barrel where they actually roast them, and with corn and the 2 different kinds of yam, sweet potato and yam. It smelled like candy.
They are delicious.
It smelled more like candy than candy does.
Yeah, I mean, you'll know where to find these, because you will see these steel chemical barrels, and they've got like coal inside, and there's it's quite warm walking around it. But I do worry that when you actually look at the barrel they're getting cooked in, it's like an ex-chemical barrel. But I just try not to think about that as I bite into the yam. But yeah, they're really good and they're really cheap, usually like less than a kwai as well.
Now, how do you call that? The roast yam?
Yeah, that's called 烤地瓜.
烤地瓜, and 地瓜is the word for yam.
Yeah, and then there's also for the corn, it's 烤玉米.
Mm-hmm, 烤玉米.
Now, those are two really good things for winter. They'll warm you up.
Yes. All right, now, Amber, you've been here longer than me, so what is your favorite food here?
Yeah, but you know what, GP, I'm kind of weird because my favorite food, even sometimes Chinese people think it's gross.
Oh, no.
It's like this ball. It's like a glutinous rice ball. It's made from mushed up sticky rice.
Okay.
And what they do is they mush it all up, make a ball. They fill it with red bean and black sesame paste.
Okay.
And then roll it in coconut, and it's delicious. But anyways, when you eat it, it's so heavy that it like sticks in your stomach like a piece of glue. Mm-hmm. And I can eat like 3 or 4, and people think I'm insane. Yeah, but it's pretty filling.
Are they called mochi balls or something?
Well, it's kind of like Japanese mochi, but it's the Chinese version. But they're really good. But I'm not saying I recommend them. So
okay, are they fried or
no? They're just raw.
They're just okay and rolled in coconut.
Yeah. So that was the breakfast and snack edition of JP's introduction to food in China.
That's
and
right.
We'll look forward to the lunch and dinner and maybe late night snack episode to come. Thanks,
All
JP.
right, I hope you're hungry.
Okay, everybody. So now those are me and JP's favorite foods. So I want everybody to go to the comments section in Dear Amber and tell us their favorite breakfast and snack foods in China. Steve in San Diego writes a question. Dear Amber, how do you pick a good Chinese name? So I've invited Jenny, our Chinese expert, and Clay, our English Chinese name expert. So Clay, first tell us, what's your Chinese name?
鲁克莱.
鲁
鲁
克莱.
Not very good.
Sounds a little bit like Clay. Kalai.
Yeah.
Is that why you picked that?
Yeah.
Who picked it for you?
My
Sound.
first year teacher at University of Hawaii gave it to me, obviously not knowing anything about Chinese names, so I took it but it's not.
You sound dissatisfied.
Well,
Yeah, why-
it's a transliteration. So Lu is like roop, and then Kelai is clay. But it's not an authentic name.
So yeah, Jenny, how does it sound to you?
It doesn't sound that unnatural to me in Chinese, in terms of our speech habit and word frequency.
Okay.
These characters are, not too offbeat.
But I'm often told it's not that good of a name.
But it's special. What don't you like about it?
I think it sounds a bit girly. Kalai. So Jenny, do you think do transliterations work for English names for Chinese names for English people?
To a certain extent.
Okay, so let's try and help out Steve in San Diego. Could a foreigner pick their own Chinese name? Do you think, Jenny? Or is it going to be weird no matter what?
You would need help.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty silly ones out there.
I mean, let's just think about how when we all taught English, some of the English names that kids would pick for themselves, right? I remember the weirdest one was Cash. His name was Cash, or dinosaur, right? So we're going to have the equivalent of those in Chinese if we don't be careful.
I've got a few friends,
Apple.
girlfriends whose names are Kinky.
Oh, that's so bad.
What do you mean, Jenny?
K-I-N-K-I.
That's their name.
Yeah,
They chose it for themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful because we just might end up doing that in Chinese, right?
Yes.
So, Jenny, what are some guidelines? Can you give us a guideline?
I would say try to work phonetically to begin with.
At least then you have some sort of identification with the name, right?
But not a complete transliteration. I think the key is to find a balance between the sound and the meaning.
Yeah.
For example, 克来 versus 克雷. I just tweak 克来a bit and try to
find
add,
one that has a good meaning.
Alternative word that, like you said, has a
And
good
one thing
meaning.
I would say is that if you flip it around, when a foreigner comes to the U.S., they seem more approachable if they have an American name. Like, for example, if
It's good to have a Chinese name.
yeah, if Bruce Lee would have came into the States as Li Xiaolong, he probably wouldn't be as famous as he was
Good
today.
point.
More convenient.
It is, and
Yeah, it's hard to
sometimes
pronounce.
it's very hard to pronounce.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Chinese Pod Trivia. Our first question is, how long will it take you to become an intermediate Chinese speaker using the Chinese Pod app? Is it A, the rest of your life? B, you should already be an intermediate speaker? C, 3 months? Or D, Chinese Pod has an app?
You should already be in.
Ooh, that is incorrect. The correct answer is C, 3 months. That's right. Head over to ChinesePod.com now to register for your access to over 4,000 lessons. Get the Chinese Pod app now on Google Play or the App Store.
Chinese names.
When I was going to school in Singapore, most of my American teachers called me Zuki.
Yeah, Jenny, how did you...
the key to a zoo.
Sounds like zucchini.
I'm calling you that from now on.
I need
Suki.
English name.
So Jenny, how did you get your English name?
One of my teachers gave it to me.
Oh, I see. That's usually how
like
it goes.
it.
So real
Okay.
early on, or did you change it kind of?
Real early on in China, actually. Yeah.
Okay, now
Our
I
English teacher named us.
So I have to say something too, that I think that you have to have a bit of a thick skin, because when it's not your real name, people will always have their opinion on your name as
Sure.
well. Like personally, I have to admit.
Yeah, what's yours, Amber?
I've changed my Chinese name 5 times.
Oh, and the fifth one.
But the 5th one is the one that stands because it's the one Jenny gave me, which is Zi'an.
Zi'an.
Even as funny as that, I thought Zi'an to my English ears sounded so cute and like feminine. And then when I told Connie my new name that Jenny gave me, she's like, "Oh, my friend's boyfriend has that name." I'm like, to me, it doesn't sound masculine at all. So it just shows that our own ears can't tell.
So what was your first Chinese name?
Oh, there's so many I can't remember.
You can't remember?
Wait a minute, there was one. I know the first one was both 4th tones. It was Ai Bei because it sounds like amber. But I felt mad when I said it because I didn't want 2 4th tones. So then I changed it and it kind of evolved.
So here's a question, because I've actually seen a lot of people have just 2 characters. What's better? Is it better to have 2 or 3, or is it not
Yeah,
matter?
that's another thing.
Two is for your given name, it's natural to have 2 characters. If you have 3, then maybe it's a complete transliteration, like 史蒂文.
But isn't one your
史蒂夫。
Xingming, like your last name?
对, last name, I think sometimes by default, the transliterated word becomes your surname.
Right.
Like 史蒂夫 and 史 kind of becomes your surname.
But you know what's interesting about Chinese names as well, I can add, is that, it's a fake name, but it becomes a real name here. You've just chosen it, but you start using it on like your documents to register with the police, on your documents to get your visa. And the weird thing is it becomes a name. And then I know someone like they're having a baby and they're like, they're asking like the baby's going to have your Xingming or is it going to have your wife's? But it's not even a real name.
It is now.
One of
Amber.
our friends affectionately called it the bastardized.
Exactly.
surname.
But that's the kind of the cool thing that you can, for the first time in your life, you can kind of choose your own
And actually,
name.
now I think about it, I could never change my name now. It's on every document I have in China.
Yeah. So
It's on my business card.
it's weird.
on
It's not
visas.
legal, but it
Stuck with
becomes
it,
it. Yeah.
I want to ask you, do
Stuck.
your Chinese friends call you by your Chinese name?
The ones who speak any English will call me by American
Yeah,
name.
that's what I found.
But like
too.
my roommate, it's Lu Kelai. And they always say the full name and not just Kelai, which is always
Because I think they
like
think it sounds girly. It sounds so girly to
Depends
me.
on
Thanks
the
a lot,
person.
girls. You're really
cute.
helping out here.
Yeah, so that's another thing too, is that, sometimes your Chinese, some Chinese friends will use your English name very naturally, but then other Chinese friends I have, they always like to use the Chinese name. Jenny, is it
Emma,
easy for
you
Chinese people to accept like English names, you think?
I think it depends on the individual, whether the person speaks English or not and what language you always speak in. Like, I always speak in English with you guys, so I've always used your English
Yeah.
names. And Amber, you also said it also depends on how you refer yourself as the first time you met
true.
the person,
That
right?
is true.
Yeah, because you'll always be Jenny to me, Jenny. Even though I know you're
never
Zuki.
Zuki, never
Even though I know you're
You're
Zuki.
Zuki to me, Jenny.
Okay, so I hope that helps Steve in San Diego and all of you. And if anyone needs help picking a name, they can always write to us, and Jenny will help us out to pick one as cute as Anne.
Yeah, we
this,
can
this
start
might be kind of fun.
we can start a naming business.
Yeah, we
I
can.
think we should.
It'll be
I
by
wouldn't
donation.
charge, though. It would be so
All
unseemly.
free.
I know, it'll be by donation of chocolate bar sent to us at this address.
Or,
Or
coffee
coffee.
bean.
Or coffee beans.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
see you.
This question comes from Tina. Tina writes, Dear Amber, I've just moved to Shanghai and my parents are very concerned about safety. They're worried that I'm going to die or something bad will happen to me. Is there any suggestions you could give on safety in China? Okay, thanks, Tina, for that question. It's a good question, and we at Chinese Pod always say safety first. So I've invited my friend Rebecca here, she's a China old hand, actually. How long have you lived in China, Rebecca?
2.5 years. I don't
Okay.
think that makes me an old hand, though.
Well, more than
Oldish.
lots of us. So, Rebecca, we've talked before about, I'm kind of safety conscious coming from Canada, like you're from Australia. Things are pretty safe. Do you think, for me, I think personal safety wise, I never feel like a risk to my sort of like I'll be attacked or anything in China. But I think like physical safety, there are issues, aren't there?
I think that's very true. I think there's no way you're going to be attacked by some guy when you're walking down the street, but
Yeah, not likely.
you may fall through the ground or have your head cut off.
Yeah, because there's sort of like safety is not as much of an issue like as it is. Maybe because you can't sue anyone here so much if something bad happens. I think one thing actually that right now they're chopping down the trees like for, I guess, in preparation for winter.
Exactly. I was riding along the other day. And they didn't even seal off the road. They were cutting off these huge branches.
Yeah.
Literally, like, I was like, lucky I looked up because I almost had a huge branch falling on me.
Yeah, it's true. You have to, actually, I think a lot of the dangers in Shanghai come from above.
Or below.
Or below. Everywhere, maybe. But speaking of above, okay, there's the trees. I also had that almost happen to me. And we're not talking about little branches. Like, they're sawing off, like, huge whacks of tree, I guess, in order to sort of, like, trim them or whatever for the winter. But yeah, they are falling and they will fall on your head.
And they just expect you to pay attention to it.
It's like kind of like your problem if you get your head knocked off. But the other thing actually that comes from above too is
dripping underwear.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, that's basically what it is. You might feel a drop on your head. I mean, I'm not saying it's dangerous, but I mean, depending on the underwear, it could be, right?
Exactly. Especially when you got those big red ones, freshly hand washed.
Why are they always red? But yeah, no, because in Shanghai, it's kind of enchanting actually. When you look down the street, everyone hangs their laundry sort of out their windows and stuff. But in the mornings, like usually people hang out in the mornings. In the mornings, you'll be walking. I mean, you're going to be dodging. It's good to be aware of the dripping underwear.
Good point. Another one for above is watching where you walk if you're underneath a building. Like, just recently, in the lobby of where I live at the moment, there's all these like pictures and posters and notices going up with these cartoon characters. So it's got this cartoon character throwing all his rubbish off the balcony, and then this big security camera looking up at him, and the last frame is the police going to arrest this guy. So I think
they're cracking down.
They're cracking down.
Yeah, but it's true. People will throw things off their balcony, like maybe garbage, rubbish, and even like maybe their mop water, like. I've had that, actually. It barely missed me.
I think I'm being influenced. I've been known to throw a few seeds down of various fruits.
That's the thing. You start to get the same way. The other day I was in a cab. I'm like, I'm going to litter this box of garbage. I don't know. And I'm like, what am I doing?
I know. This is confession time now.
But I think the reason is not that people are such litterers, but in Shanghai, there's someone who comes and sweeps up the streets every night. And so a lot of people think like there's not a garbage can handy.
True.
You just throw the thing on the street and someone will sweep it up. It's kind of like job creation, so maybe that's why. But it is something to look out for. Watch your head for sure. Another thing that happened to me, actually, I think safety-wise, was talking about just walking. Some restaurants, like there's a lot of tiny little restaurants on the street side, and at night or even maybe, I don't know, all day long, but
I know exactly what you're going to say.
I don't know what it is. Like, do they wash the walk and they kind of just dump it onto the sidewalk rather than, I don't know, where they get rid of the oil? But the oil is on the street.
It's not even the oil. It's so revolting. Like, if I fell in this, I would literally kill myself. It's all the refuse and the oil and like bits of food and tissue. Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yes, well, I did slip in it once and I nearly fell. Thank goodness.
I'm surprised you're still in China.
I know, and it does smell. I mean, usually you can smell it before you can see the oil slick, but I would say watch out for the sidewalks. Watch out for the oil slicks because it is slippery on your feet.
It is
pure oil.
Okay, I've got another side one to watch out for. Okay, like often they do like, road works and things like that. In, our countries, this is a big thing if someone fell into one of those big manholes.
Oh, yeah.
In China, I just noticed they just open these things up and they may put a tiny little bit of string that you'd barely notice if you're going flying full ball ahead on your bicycle. The other day I was riding down one of the roads here and it was dark at night, and suddenly I noticed in front of me about 3 manholes had been opened up and just left there, like nothing
wide
at all.
Wide
open, and I saw a guy fall into it with his bicycle.
Oh no.
Seriously.
So he's just riding along and the bike just fell in the hole.
He fell in sideways, like he must have put his foot down.
Oh no.
Anyway, I think he was luckily more embarrassed than anything. But
he was okay, though.
It wasn't even marked. See,
that's another thing is that we're so overly safety cautious, and yet I find that here people don't make such a big deal of things. It's almost like they don't get injured as much as people in the West, even though it's less safe.
It's psychological.
Which reminds me also of like taxi cabs. The law is to put on your seatbelt, of course, at least in Canada and U.S. Australia. But here, there's not even an option. Like in the taxi, there is a seatbelt in the front seat, but the back seats, there's no choice even.
That's it.
They take them out, actually.
That's it. It's exactly right. When I first arrived, I remember it was 11 o'clock at night arriving in at Pudong Airport, and this manic taxi driver was speeding at 180 kilometers an hour and SMSing at the same time. And I couldn't speak anything. I just was waving frantically for this guy to slow down. There's no seatbelt at all. Oh, pure fear.
Yes, definitely. It actually reminds me of my Swedish friends. Sweden, they build the Volvo car, the safest country in the world probably. And she's got a baby, and she said that she realized that she'd really been China-fied when here she is with her baby in the backseat of a taxi, just holding onto it with her lap, and her friends come to visit and they're like, there's no car seat?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not even a seatbelt. Just the baby's back there playing with her in the backseat.
Hey guys, it's Michael here at Chinese Pod, and we want to say thank you to all of our faithful subscribers. If you're not registered yet, head over to ChinesePod.com now and get 20% off.
We got promo codes. Save your money. Promo code. Learn Chinese. Register now at ChinesePod.com.
Use promo code GET20 at checkout to get 20% off your first year.
It's funny how you start to get used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, speaking of driving, that actually reminds me of one more thing, which is important to warn people about, is that here, pedestrians never have the right of way, even in a crosswalk, or even if you have the green Walkman light. Yeah. Be careful, because the cars always have the right of way. It's something, I think that's probably the most dangerous thing.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's another thing to be aware of, because the cars will not be looking out for you at all. Actually, I was kind of touched last night when I was riding my bicycle, because a little dog ran out in front of a bus. And I actually saw the bus. I thought, what's going to happen here? And the bus actually swerved to avoid the dog, which I was really quite impressed with. But the problem was, I realized as I saw it unfolding, as he swerved to avoid the dog, he almost knocked me off my bike. I was on the other side.
It's the pecking order, and you were one step below.
I know. So I thought, it was good for the dog, but maybe bad for me. Okay, well, those are all a few suggestions to look out for. And everybody else can leave some comments on the Dear Amber conversation board and let us know any other safety tips they have for Tina. That's everything for this week's Dear Amber, the insider's guide to everything China. Don't forget, send your questions to Dear Amber at praxislanguage.com or go to my profile at ChinesePod.com. And please go to the comments section at Dear Amber, found in the extras tab at ChinesePod, and you'll get a lot of info about today's show, and also you can post your own insights about what we talked about today. We'll see you next time. 下一次见.